with puppet master Mark Bryan Wilson, who's also an artist, who's also a performer, an actor, sculptor, um, so many things. And thank you for allowing me to be in your home today.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
See your work and talk to you about this is so exciting.
Yeah, it's really great to be here. Thanks for having me, and I hope I can share some things that'll maybe tell you a little bit more about my fascinating career in puppetry and special effects.
Yes. But before we get started, there's a painting here. And you did this painting. Tell me about this painting that you have right here on your mantle. This is really nice.
Yeah, I always wanted to have in my home a graveyard and scary stuff. I always loved Halloween as a kid. So this is my home, and I decided that what I wanted to do was to have a graveyard to stare off and into. So I created on canvas an acrylic painting, and I did all the composition and set it up here. Actually, I put the canvas up on the wall, and then I placed all the pieces, and I could get back and look at it until I made it so it was just the painting that I wanted to be able to sit in my chair and look at.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's all acrylic paint on canvas.
That's really. I used to do some painting, but looking at this is like I need to get back into that.
Yeah.
This is pretty awesome. And also these skeletons. You did these skeletons right here.
Right. Yeah. After I had the painting up for several years, there was nothing in it that was undead. It was just a bunch of tombstones. So I wanted some skeletons that were singing merrily in the graveyard, a la the Haunted Mansion. So very very joyous. I didn't want it to be a disturbing graveyard. I wanted it to be happy. Where all of the inhabitants are coming along and enjoying you and wanting you to join along. Those are wire along with paper clay, which is like a sculpting medium. So I did the wire form first, or the armature, and then on top of that I took this material, paper clay, which is paper fiber kind of in a pulp, and then I put that on different sections, and then when they dried I could carve a little and add a little bit more, and then it's all painted with acrylic paint.
They're really nice, like really detailed.
Thank you.
To be, I mean, really see the depth in the face, the body movements. They're very happy skeletons.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a lot of knowledge, of course, after doing a lot of creature effects and stuff of the human skeleton. So, of course, I referred to books, but a lot of it I can do from memory. In different projects, I work on different parts of the body, so I did a lot of hands for a while, and a lot of bones and a lot of skeletons, so I used all of that knowledge to make my own.
So, childhood, like, when did you know? Like, did you color, draw? Because some people start like myself. I was like, I did color pencils. I did, crayons and things like that. But for you, like, was it something that you used to do all the time, even as a kid? Like creating and sculpting things from Play-Doh?
I mean, I discovered puppetry very early.
Okay.
I was 5 years old when I saw a marionette show at a school assembly.
Oh.
So, 5-year-old kids in kindergarten, bouncing all over the walls, but they took us into the auditorium, and at the front was a proscenium where there was going to be a marionette show.
Okay.
And we saw a couple of different ones in my elementary school days. We saw Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. We saw Rumpelstiltskin, I think Peter Pan also. But they were like a half an hour show with marionettes, special effects. There was lighting, sound effects, all within a theater, which was probably maybe 5 or 6 feet wide. And the marionettes would act to the soundtrack. But then I was caught. But I think what really sealed the deal is at the end of the show, they allowed us to go behind. So all of us 5-year-olds had to get a partner, don't touch anything, come on kids, and then we marched up the stage and along the back, and all the puppets were actually hung in the racks. So we got to see the marionettes that had been used in the show. And it just mesmerized me that there was Snow White in 2 different costumes, 2 different Snow Whites. It's like, but I only saw one on stage. So it's like, oh, okay. So you did multiple versions, and then you dressed them different ways. And then to see all the props that they had, the dwarves had a cart filled with jewels. And when I saw those jewels, I knew that I could get those plastic rhinestones and stuff at the local hobby shop. So at 5 years old, I was tugging on my mom's shirt sleeve, and I said, I want to be able to build what they do. I want to make a jewel cart. I know I can do that. So I got a little cardboard box, and Mom took me off to the hobby store. We bought a handful of jewels, and then I glued them onto this little cardboard box and made some circular wheels. So that's kind of how I got started. But
that's pretty ambitious.
Immediately, as soon as I saw those puppets, I went and got a book at the local elementary school library to see how to make a little puppet head and how to use clay. And so I was off and running, at age 5. I wanted to do it. Now, I didn't know that I was going to do it forever. I didn't know I was going to do it for so many years, but I knew I was very interested. I knew that there was just so many different steps there, that there was sculpting, painting, drawing, designing, costuming, soundtrack, sound effects, and it was all there in that one little miniature theater. So,
At 5 years
at
old.
5 years old, yeah, so that's, I started. Of course, I was a novice. The things that I did
Yeah.
were lumpy and didn't look, there was kind of a nose shape, and, the cheeks were, not symmetrical, but that's how I got started. And, the first puppet that I built, I think, was Geppetto for Marionette. Pinocchio show.
Okay.
I had a store-bought Pinocchio we got from the Sears catalog, and so I had to build his father because they didn't sell one. So, hey, I'm going to make one. I'm going to make it on my own. And I put the clay together, and I figured out from the drawings, and I think we had a Encyclopedia Britannica or something where it had some basic drawings of a marionette. So I began to cut and glue. My dad was a woodworker, so he helped me. He would show me different things that I could do, with being a very young, it wasn't go use the bandsaw and the power saw. It was like, here, let's take a nail and we'll put a hole, but then that's where we put the screw eye in.
Okay.
So I started out learning to do stuff.
So
like
that must have went on into high school and into college, right?
Right.
Okay.
So I was building puppets.
Yeah.
Occasionally there was independent projects in school. I would build a puppet.
Okay.
I did it in elementary school, I did it in junior high, I built a Civil War soldier for junior high to get some extra credit points.
Okay.
And of course then they would say, okay, now go ahead and operate it. Well, I knew more about building at that point than I did about performing. And, my mom would help me also make costumes, and my sister would show me how to work with the sewing machine. So there was a lot of family support.
Okay.
And basically so that I would stop asking them how to thread the sewing machine and they'd show me how to do it.
Okay.
But very warm and supportive.
And then you took this into college.
Yeah.
Right?
So
okay.
actually,
Tell me about that.
in high school, I actually built some for art competitions.
Okay.
I got in art classes, and I wanted to do 3-dimensional stuff. They would have us try to sketch or whatever. And said, but I want to build a puppet. Can I build a puppet? So I'd go to my teachers, and luckily my teacher at William S. Hart High said, yeah, I can see what you can do, and I think I would like you to go ahead. So I built like an Arabian sheik 1 year, and then the following year I built his horse. So I got honorable mention for both of those. And I was starting to build puppets that are starting to be credible. They work the right way. They move at the right joints. I knew how to string them and build marionette controls.
Okay.
And then I went into college where I was taking art classes, figure drawing, painting, ceramics, a bunch of different art stuff to kind of help back up my art knowledge and give me more and more. But there wasn't a puppet building class. There really wasn't a figure building class or a special effects makeup class. So I took my general, art and understanding of art classes, my art history, and all that, which got me started to build stuff into college. In college, I met a young man in my art class, and his mom built puppets.
Okay.
She actually had a birthday party theater in her garage with a castellated parapet in the corner where the king would come out and wish happy birthday. These were all hand puppets. And so I met her in college, and within a few days, I got a call from Magic Mountain from Ernie Gooderjohn, who asked me to come bring my portfolio, which is just a few photos at that point. But I had those high school art projects, which looked pretty good. And he said, go ahead, why don't you come and work with us and build a marionette show? So I guess I'm about 19 at this point and getting paid to build puppets.
That's pretty cool, especially going into Magic Mountain to help and perform and things like that. There, that's pretty cool. So, for Magic Mountain, what was the biggest point that you went into the career of movies and commercials and things like that? So who helped you transition into that, or did you audition, or did someone say, hey, I know a project that you would love to work on?
I think kind of the crossover from Magic Mountain to actual working in the movies is Magic Mountain was one of the first amusement parks to do a Halloween show.
Oh,
so we're talking back in 77, 78. Universal might have done one, but there's kind of a tie, I think, between the amusement parks saying, hey, we can make more money at Halloween, we can start dressing people up. So at Halloween, they brought out Bob Burns and Tom Sherman, who both have a long history of collecting Hollywood artifacts and being worked in the movies. Bob was an editor at KTL at that point, and Tom Sherman was the expert in charge of the Nautilus for the 20,000 Leagues ride for Disney, for Walt Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
So they saw some of the stuff that I was sculpting for the Halloween show. They said, "Hey kid, have you looked into makeup and working in the effects industry?" And I said, "Well, could I work in effects? Could I make monsters?" They said, "Oh yeah, you could." And I think I was making $3.75, $4 an hour at Magic Mountain, which was double what minimum wage was because I was working for
Really?
entertainment. And then they said, "Wow, you could probably make $15 an hour." What? I thought, triple my wages. I can work in the film. So it was a few words of encouragement from those gentlemen, and then after I'd worked at Magic Mountain for 3 years building puppets, working line relief with a walk around puppet stage, and also I built street theater props. So it was tables for the magicians, pins for the jugglers, all this stuff I had to keep up or manufacture. I was pretty key in the Halloween show every year, making masks and stuff that they would hang on the wall. When I started looking, I went to my boss, Ernie, and said, how can I find some more opportunities? I'm thinking I might have to leave. And, great! And I thought, well, what do you mean great? So this is wonderful. You've got so much talent. You've learned mold making and stuff at Magic Mountain. You've learned to do some more theater, putting together a show. You ought to try it. And so he went with me to his desk in his office, and we got out a Yellow Pages, and we started flipping through. And he says, "Well, look here, puppet companies. Here's Tony Urbano, Bob Maker, Rene Zendejas," and all these gentlemen ran full-on puppet companies at this point.
Okay.
They were doing McDonald's commercials, they were doing TV series, they were doing live stuff, and most of them I had seen at amusement parks. I saw Tony Urbano when I was 10 years old, doing a variety marionette show with Bob Hope and Phyllis Diller, caricature marionettes of different celebrities and stuff. So for a young boy, I had to know who this guy was. So I knew the name immediately, and I thought, okay, so how do I begin to move from a novice into a professional? And he helped me, my friend Ernie helped me write my first resume and the cover letter, and he got my supervisors to write me letters of recommendation. So already I had a beginning kit. I was beginning to get more photos from the stuff I'd done at Magic Mountain, and I was looking more into working in film and TV.